What's good, everyone? Welcome to the Rabbit Stick YouTube channel. Today, the first of two mock drafts this week. Today, we'll be going over my personal mock draft based on my own draft board, and I'll be making picks based on what I would do if I were the GM of every NFL franchise. It's going to be a good one. Strap yourselves in. Let's get into this. Before we start, I want to announce a pre-draft trade here. I'm going to be sending Deebo Samuel to the Houston Texans for the 13th overall pick this year, one of Houston's first rounders next year, so Cleveland's pick, and then a third rounder this year, pick number 80, which was originally New Orleans' pick. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the draft. All right, number one overall pick here. I have Aidan Hutchinson going number one overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was a very easy pick for me. You look at the other options here. I like Cam Robinson and Walker Little as your tackles. I think you can survive with those guys, and then you look at the other edge rushers like Thibodeaux and Trayvon Walker. I just think that Hutchinson is more of a sure thing. I think he's for sure going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. And then not only that, but he's such a good locker room guy. You're trying to build a winning culture in Jacksonville, and Aidan Hutchinson is the perfect guy to lead your defense in that regard. They run a 3-4 base defense, so we're going to be plugging him in at 3-4 defensive end. So he won't be a true edge player in our base defense, but we'll kick him out to the edge in our nickel packages. And he's just going to be that guy that stops runs. He's going to be the guy that just fucks shit up all the time. And he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Probably going to make a couple all-pro teams. The traits that he has are incredible. He's a freak athlete. Lateral quickness is off the charts. Can go speed the power. Just a very, very solid player. Maybe his upside isn't as high as guys like Thibodeaux or Walker, but I think Hutchinson is much more ready to be a effective pass rusher on day one than those guys. Not to mention Hutchinson is an elite run defender. To me, this wasn't a hard decision. Aidan Hutchinson was clearly the pick for me, and if I'm Jacksonville, I'm extremely happy with this pick. For those of you that have followed my stuff for a while, this should come as no surprise, but I have Detroit taking Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty here at number 2. And like the Jacksonville pick, this wasn't hard. You only get so many chances to take a guy like Willis that can be an absolute super weapon at the next level. And, in my opinion, the Lions have the perfect structure to foster Malik Willis's development here over the first couple years of his career. They have Jared Goff there. Commit to him as your starter for next season. I would even sign another veteran to back him up just so I can make sure that Malik doesn't get thrown in there if Goff gets hurt, because he's not ready right now. He's not. He's going to need a full year on the bench preparing for 2023. And, unless there was an absolute emergency, I would not play him, period. But, you make this pick and, you might say, well, we might want a player that's actually going to be on the field next season. But, when I look at the long-term benefits of drafting a guy like Malik Willis and letting him sit, this is an organization where it's one of the oldest organizations in the league, yet they're absolutely riddled with failure and misery, and they've just been a lousy franchise that's looking to turn things around. And Malik Willis is the type of guy, he's a franchise changing type of player, and if he brings a Super Bowl to Detroit, I don't think Lions fans are going to complain that he has to sit on the bench for a year. So that's the way I feel. I think this is absolutely what Detroit should do no matter who's on the board. Even if Aidan Hutchinson is here in the actual draft, I still think they should take Willis. This is the most important position in all of sports, and you got to get it right now. I don't think they have it right. So if I'm the GM, I'm making a move to make it right here. All right, number 3 here. So if I'm the Texans, I've already made a trade to secure Deebo Samuel to help out our quarterback and Davis Mills. So I'm going to get him a little bit more protection here and draft Evan Neal out of Alabama. He's probably going to play guard the first year because you already have Laramie Tunsil, and Titus Howard they tried him out at guard last year. He was absolutely awful. Probably going to kick him back out to right tackle. So you're probably plugging Evan Neal in there at either left or right guard, depending on, where he fits best there. But you're drafting him not to play guard for the next 15 years. You're drafting him to replace Laramie Tunsil when his contract absolutely goes crazy next offseason. I mean, he's going to be set to make $35 million as a cap hit next season. And we need to get rid of him next season. He's going to be here for next year. He's going to be our left tackle, but he's going to have to be a cap casualty next off season. And Evan Neal is the type of guy that is going to be able to move over to left tackle. I don't have the same concerns about him the same way that I do Ike Ekwonu as a left tackle. Ekwonu definitely could do it, but Evan Neal is definitely more of the sure thing. And, this pick is a no-brainer to me. Ekwonu would be a better guard on day one than Neal, but I think Neal will be fine at guard. Plus, he's more of the sure thing as a future left tackle. So this is a pretty easy pick for me. So if I'm the Houston Texans, I'm sitting here with Evan Neal and Deebo Samuel. I'm stoked to have those two guys. All right, the Jets' first selection here in the first round at number 4. I have them taking Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU. Now, the difference between him and Sauce, it's not astronomical, but, I look at the 2019 season that Derek Stingley had, and it was arguably the greatest season we've ever seen from a cornerback, period, in the history of college football. As a 19-year-old, he was locking down, number one SEC receiver after another. A lot of them are in the league now. And then people will point to some bad tape here over the last couple of years, and that's fair, but he was playing hurt. He was playing in a fledgling organization that was crumbling under his feet. It's like, you try playing 100% hurt, when you're playing for an organization like that. So I think he's going to come in now. They say that he's 100% ready to go. I think he's ready to dedicate himself back to 100% effort on the field. And I think the Jets have interviewed him. I think every team has done their due diligence on him, and I think they're ready to put him number 1 on their cornerback rankings. And plain simply, the Jets need someone that can play nickel corner as well. Sauce Gardner can't do that. The two guys that they have right now, Reed and Bryce Hall, are both strictly outside corners, so they need somebody that can come in and play slot corner for them when they're in their nickel packages. So this is a pretty easy pick for me. Derek Stingley Jr. has the potential to be an absolute island kind of player. You can just leave him alone with the number 1 receiver, and he can be the next Darrelle Revis for the Jets. I think this is an easy pick, and I think he's going to be fantastic. All right, the first of the Giants' 2 top 10 first-round picks here. I have them taking Sauce Gardner, and he's just a perfect fit for the Wink Martindale defense, press man. You're going to see a lot of blitzes, lots of creeper blitzes, lots of zero. You're going to need guys that can play press man. Bradbury and Adoree Jackson are kind of more zone corners. So Ahmad Gardner, you bring him in. He's your number 1 corner right away. Excellent press man corner, best in this class in my opinion. This is an easy selection if I'm Joe Shine and Brian Dable. All right, we have another trade here. So I have the New Orleans Saints trading up with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers trade the 6th overall pick, and the Saints send them the 16 and the 19 of the first round. Maybe not the exact deal that Carolina is looking for. They need more than just 2 picks, but I think that they're looking at this deal. It's going to be really the only deal they have on the table at this point, and they're saying that they can probably trade down from either 16 or 19, so I think they accept. And with the pick, I have the Saints taking Carson Strong, quarterback out of Nevada. Now, I understand that this is not going to happen. Probably. This is not going to happen. Carson Strong is projected by most to be a second to third round pick. So if someone takes him in the first, they're not giving up 2 first rounders to trade up and get him in the top 10. But, based on what I've seen on film, Carson Strong is absolutely worth this trade for New Orleans. They have a good offensive line, so Strong can come in right away and play well because he can maneuver the pocket. And Strong would only struggle with a team, I think, that has a poor offensive line because he doesn't have the ability to escape the pocket. But with this kind of offensive line that New Orleans has, I think that he can maneuver the pocket, stay upright, and deliver strikes down the field. He's excellent deep ball thrower. He gets through his progressions well. He's a first-round quarterback, in my opinion. And since there's only 2 guys in this draft class that I think are worth a first-round pick, if I'm New Orleans, I am absolutely making this deal. All right, so for the Giants, we already selected Sauce Gardner there at number 5. So now we're going to double up on defense here, and we're going to go get our future edge rusher, number 1 edge rusher here with Travon Walker out of Georgia. Now, a couple weeks ago, I sent something on Instagram kind of critical of Travon Walker. I'm not as high on Walker as a lot of people are. I don't think he showed a lot of ability to straight up rush the passer on his film. He's a great run defender, plays with a great motor. Obviously, the measurables are off the charts. He has the potential to be the best edge rusher, not only in this class, but in the entire NFL, which is why he's getting a lot of traction at number 1 right now. But in my opinion, you're kind of making a big risk there if you're drafting him number 1. But I digress. I think this is an excellent pick for the Giants. Wink Martindale likes to mix things up. He likes to vary his looks, and Travon Walker is the perfect chess piece for that kind of defense. You can send him, you can put him out in coverage. There's really nothing that this kid can't do, and I think that the Giants, if I'm Joe Shine here, I'm looking at someone that can be a real difference maker in this defense for years to come. So good pick here for the Giants. I think that if you get Sauce Gardner and Travon Walker, there's going to be a lot of people saying, where's the offensive lineman here? But I like Thomas at left tackle, and I actually like Matthew Pert at right tackle. So, you still need to address the offensive interior lineman, but you can get starters for that position later on in this draft. You're not going to be able to get a number 1 edge rusher later in the draft, which they desperately need. So this is the pick for me. Here we go, Atlanta, number 8. We got Kayvon Thibodeaux here at number 8 for Atlanta. Kayvon still has a little bit of work to do, especially in the run game. At Oregon, he would get undisciplined, filling his gaps in the run, which would lead to, big runs that were his fault. Plus, he's not the most bendy guy in the world, but, when I look at the sheer athleticism, power, speed that this guy plays with, you just gotta take him if you're Atlanta. This guy can be an absolutely dominant figure in this league, a Khalil Mack type of edge rusher. And plus, Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator there, likes to vary his looks a lot. And to me, Kayvon Thibodeaux reminds me a lot of Micah Parsons coming out. And, we all saw what Dan Quinn was able to do with Parsons and scheme him up. Kayvon Thibodeaux is a very similar athlete to Parsons, in my opinion. And I think Pease is going to see a guy that he can really mold and vary up his looks. So he's going to be a weapon for them. I think that they're fine with either Travon Walker or Kayvon Thibodeaux. At least I would be. But this is an easy pick for me if I'm at the Falcons. All right, number 9 here, Seattle. Pretty easy pick for me. Charles Cross, left tackle out of Mississippi State. This is one of the easiest picks in the draft. If Cross falls to them, I think they're taking him. They're adopting more of a wide zone, kind of Shanahan style offense. Charles Cross is perfect for that. They need to address the offensive line. They need a left tackle, and Cross can step in right away and be an excellent left tackle in this league, in my opinion. So not going to spend too long on this pick. Just a good solid pick here for the Seahawks. All right, this one might ruffle some feathers here, but I think it's the right pick. I have the New York Jets with their second first-round pick here in the top 10. I have them taking Daxton Hill, safety / slot corner out of Michigan. We already got Derek Stingley, the cornerback. Now we take secondary again because I think Daxton Hill fits perfectly with what Robert Saleh wants to do. And in this draft, there's just not a whole lot of guys, that can play a quality free safety in the NFL right away. Dax Hill can, and not only that, but he can step in and be one of the best nickelbacks in the entire league. So you can put Stingley at nickelback, you can put Hill at nickelback. You have a lot of options here with this selection. I think he fits exactly what the Jets are trying to do. He can play a true free safety, in my opinion. He can play strong safety if you want him to. He's an excellent blitzer. He does everything. And I just think that that's going to be a very, very important thing. I don't think this actually happens in real life, by the way. If anything, I think that they might trade back into the first round to get him. In real life, this is probably going to be a receiver, or they're going to trade for Deebo Samuel, which I think is actually more likely. But in this scenario, I have them taking Dax Hill. I think it would be an excellent pick, and I think, with their defensive line is already pretty good in my opinion. And wide receiver, this is a very deep wide receiver class. You can get a quality guy in the second round, but you're probably not going to be able to get a guy like Dax Hill in the second round. So if I were Joe Douglas, I'm running this pick right up to the podium here. It's Dax Hill. Speaking of easy picks to make, I have Washington running the card up for Drake London here. Wide receiver out of USC. Carson Wentz is known to have some accuracy issues, and right now Washington doesn't really have a guy on their team that with a huge catch radius that can win 50-50 balls. Carson Wentz usually works well with bigger receivers that have really great ball skills. Drake London can be that for him. You add Drake London to this receiving core. You got Terry McLaurin that can do everything. You got De'Ami Brown as your deep threat vertically. And then Drake London is, your security blanket, the kind of guy that Carson Wentz loves playing with. And, for a team that doesn't need a ton of things to fill out their roster, I think that this is a slam dunk pick here for the Commanders. All right, number 12 here, Minnesota, my team here, my Vikes. I'm going to have them take Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington here. And this is a super easy pick for me. If I'm Minnesota, if he's there, I'm turning in the card immediately because Patrick Peterson isn't getting any younger. Cameron Dantzler is fine. But Trent McDuffie, not only is he going to be able to run the cover 4 quarters defense, the Vic Fangio style defense that we're going to be adopting, but he can be elite at it. He's got great zone instincts, great man instincts. He can play nickelback, which will be big for next season because if he's not ready to go day one on the outside, he can at least play nickelback right away. But to be honest with you, I think he's ready to start on the outside on day one too. So I think the big competition will be between Patrick Peterson and Cameron Dantzler in camp for that other slot. But I think Trent McDuffie, you get him, and he's going to develop into an excellent corner that's going to be a cornerstone of that Vikings defense for years to come. All right, so we're up to San Francisco's pick. So remember, they got the 13th overall pick in the Deebo Samuel trade in this situation. So I'm looking at San Francisco here, and I think that they like quite a few wide receivers here. So I think that they're actually going to be taking calls to move down. And, I'm picking up the phone, and it's Kansas City, and they're looking to trade up. So I'm going to accept the deal that they offer me here. They're going to offer the 29th, the 30th in this year's draft, and then next year's 3rd round pick. And that's a slam dunk for me if I'm San Francisco. So I'm going to take that. Kansas City moves up to this spot. And although some may think that they're going to take a wide receiver here, I have them taking Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher out of Florida State. Kansas City needs to improve their pass rush from last year. It's just the way it is with all the great quarterback talent in the AFC now. They don't have a true number one edge rusher, and I think that there's only one left in this draft, and that's Jermaine Johnson. So he's going to be able to come in, play your number one spot at edge in your 4-3 defense right away. You still got Chris Jones. Frank Clark is still a solid piece on the edge as well. This helps you out in so many ways. And then, people are saying, why don't you take a receiver here? But they still have their 2nd round pick this year, and I still think that there's going to be plenty of quality receiver options there in the 2nd round. So if I'm Kansas City, I'm more than willing to give up my 2 firsts to move up to 13 here. We got Baltimore at 14 here, and I'm going to have them take Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And Garrett Wilson, if anyone's going to be the Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson in this draft class, it's going to be him. Maybe he doesn't have elite size or anything like that, but man, the guy can fly. He explodes out of his cuts. Terrific route runner. Had some concentration drops in college, but I think that he can get those fixed. He had some examples of some excellent catches, just acrobatic catches in college. So I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue. Right now, Baltimore, they have Marquise Brown, who's more of a pure deep threat. And then they have Rashad Bateman, who's more of the security blanket, hands guy, not too fast, red zone target. Garrett Wilson is the guy that can come in and do whatever you want. He can be a red zone weapon. He's an excellent route runner. He can take the top off of a defense. Whatever you want Garrett Wilson to do, he can do it. And I think Baltimore just needs a guy that can consistently get open. And Garrett Wilson is arguably the best in this draft class at doing that. So it's a pretty easy pick for me. If I'm Baltimore, Garrett Wilson's my guy. If he's there, I'm taking him. All right, Philly has 15 and 18 in this year's draft. Number 15, I have them taking George Pickens here, wide receiver out of Georgia. Now, this is what I would do. And George Pickens, to me, I have him higher than, Jameson Williams in this draft because Pickens reminds me so much of A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, just the way they play, they're excellent run blockers. They're big. They run excellent routes. They got great hands. And this is the type of guy that Philly needs. They have a bunch of smaller receivers, and right now their big receiver is Dallas Goedert, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with having a tight end as your safety blanket option, but George Pickens, you can just stick him out there on the X, and it gives you more options to use Devontae Smith's vast skill set. You can use him in more ways than just put him at X. Jalen Reagor is just, he's not what he wasn't worth that 1st round pick. I'm sorry, Eagles fans, but you bring George Pickens in here and you elevate the play of Devontae Smith, in my opinion. Plus, you get a true X receiver and give Jalen Hurts another really good option on 3rd downs and in the red zone. So here we are at 16, and this is Carolina. Okay, so these were the Saints picks that they gave up to move up for Carson Strong, and Ike Ekwonu is still here. So if I'm Carolina, I'm taking him all day long. We need a left tackle. Ekwonu may not be super refined in his pass protection at left tackle quite yet, but the potential that he has is incredible, and he's going to be an excellent run blocker on day one. So this is a pretty easy pick for me. Icky is he's one of the top 10 best prospects in this draft. He falls all the way down here to 16. If I'm Carolina, I'm jumping for joy if he falls this far. All right, this might be the easiest pick I had to make in the entire mock draft here. The Chargers take Jordan Davis, number 17 overall, nose tackle, defensive tackle, whatever you want him to play. He's going to play it. He's extremely athletic. He's probably the best run stuffer in this draft. Obviously, just if you watch this combine performance, you understand that this guy's just an absolute freak. The Chargers could not stop the run last season because the way that they play defense, they play with a lot of too high safety shells. And if you don't have some absolute monsters in the trenches, you're going to get eaten up all day, which is exactly what happened. Jordan Davis is the type of monster you want in the middle of your defense to stop the run, to keep them at bay, and really get the benefits of having those too high safety shells with all the quarterback talent that's in the AFC now. All right, so we got Philly's second first rounder here. We took George Pickens with the 15th overall pick. I'm going to go with Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback here out of Clemson. McPherson is their number 2 corner right now. You have Darius Slay, who's a true number 1, but I look at this roster; it's pretty good right now. I don't trust Avonte Maddox on the outside; he's too small. I think he's a pure slot. And you bring in Andrew Booth day one of the best zone corners in this draft. Great athlete. He's going to fit in right away with the cover 2 scheme that Philadelphia likes to run. So this probably won't happen. Howie Roseman absolutely does not take corners in the first round of the draft. They'll probably end up taking Karlaftis here or at 15. So, but if I'm Philly, I'm looking to solidify that secondary, and Andrew Booth is the guy. All right, so I have the last trade here in my personal mock draft. I have the Jets trading up with Carolina, and they're going to give Carolina their 38th overall pick, which was actually originally Carolina's pick. It was the Sam Darnold pick, and their third rounder this year, which is pick 69 for the 19th overall. It's not a great deal if you're the Panthers, but if you're Matt Rule, you're on the hot seat. You need to fill this roster out and make sure that it's a competitor. You still have multiple things you need to hit in this draft class. So, I'm taking the 2 picks in the second round. One of them's a second one, the other one's a third. I'm taking the 2 picks just because we need players. So with this pick, I have the Jets taking Christian Watson, NDSU wide receiver. I love this kid, man. He's big. He's got good hands, good ball skills. He can contribute on special teams as a return man. Jet sweeps. I mean, there's nothing this kid can't do. Critics will point to, he only ran a couple of routes in college, and the production isn't quite there. But anyone that follows the Bison know that they're a run-first offense. So the opportunities weren't always there for the taking, and he did have some concentration drops. Don't get me wrong; he did catch some easy ones, but he also had examples of incredible catches, and I think if he just works on those concentration drops and just, it's the easiest fix for a wide receiver. Just look the ball into your hands. I think that's super easy to fix. I think he's going to be able to fix it. And then, just watching his Senior Bowl tape and in the one-on-ones, he absolutely destroyed everybody that he went up against. I mean, for a guy that big to be that good of a route runner, it's unfair. He's actually the number 1 guy on my board this year. I thought that the guys that went above him were better fits for those specific teams. But, if I'm the Jets, I'm absolutely thinking that this is an absolute home run draft here. We get Derek Stingley Jr., Dax Hill, and then Christian Watson. You get the number 1 guy at 3 position groups on my board. I mean, this is just an absolute slam dunk draft if you're the New York Jets. All right, number 20 here, we got Pittsburgh, and I have them taking Zach Tom, offensive tackle out of Wake Forest. To me, there's not really a quarterback here worth taking. You can probably get a pretty decent one in the second or third round, and you need a left tackle, and Zach Tom can come in and play left tackle for you right away. He can also play right tackle if you want, but I think they're going to be plugging him in at left tackle in this situation. Just a pretty easy pick for me. There's no quarterback that's worth the 20th overall pick. I'd rather take one in the second round, and I'm going to address my left tackle position in this round. So pretty easy. I think Pittsburgh fans are probably going to be clamoring for a quarterback, but once they get a pretty decent guy in the second round, I think they'll be fine. All right, we have New England here at number 21, and I have Bill Belichick turning in the card for George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue. They need another edge on their 4-3 scheme. Karlaftis fits what Belichick likes in his edge rushers: big guys, smart guys, high motor guys. He's going to be a run stuffer. It's not going to be easy to move George Karlaftis off the line of scrimmage. I'll tell you that much. So, not going to spend too much time on this one. Pretty easy. Very solid pick here for Bill Belichick and the Pats. All right, we're here at 22 with Green Bay, and this one might surprise some people. I have them taking Alec Pierce, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. I don't understand what people are seeing with this guy on film, but he is very, very similar to George Pickens, in my opinion. He's faster than George Pickens. He's a bit less refined than Pickens is in his route running. But man, Pierce is going to be a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. He runs good routes. He's sudden. He's got great acceleration, great long speed. He's going to come in right away, and he's going to be that deep threat for Aaron Rodgers right out of the gate. I think that Green Bay is probably going to be looking for kind of a smaller receiver, kind of a get open kind of guy in round 2. Alec Pierce, they draft him here to be that deep threat. Now, you might be asking, why don't I take Jameson Williams here? I'm going with Pierce because first of all, he's bigger and he's a better run blocker. So I think that Green Bay is going to value that quite a bit. But, Jameson Williams, he's coming off that ACL injury, and that's a legitimate concern. Now, what I'm hearing is that his knee is mending very, very well. It's looking very optimistic. And I think in the actual draft, he's going to go a lot higher than 22. And if he's here at 22, Green Bay's probably going to take him. But if I were the GM, I'm looking at Pierce, and I like Pierce better than Williams right now, especially for what Green Bay wants to do on offense and who they can get in the second round as far as wide receivers. So I think Pierce is the best fit here for Aaron Rodgers and company. All right, 23 here, we got Arizona. They have a laundry list of things that they need, in my opinion. But they need corner help, so I have them going for Kyler Gordon, cornerback out of Washington, the second Washington cornerback off the board here. He can do whatever you want him to do. If you want him to play man, he can play man. He's much more of a zone guy, but Arizona runs a lot of zone stuff. So I like Kyler Gordon here. He's very solid. You can plug him in on day one. Don't have to worry about him. Very solid pick here for Arizona. All right, so we have Dallas at 24 here. One of the easiest picks in the draft, in my opinion. Devonte Wyatt, defensive tackle out of Dallas. This is a very shallow defensive tackle class this year, just like it was last year. But Devonte Wyatt, I have him higher on my big board than Jordan Davis. I just think Jordan Davis is going to be a better nose tackle for the Chargers than Devonte Wyatt would be. So, Dallas runs a 4-3. Devonte Wyatt would be an excellent 4-3 defensive tackle for them. He's going to come in and he's going to make an impact day one, So, this is an excellent pick for the Cowboys here. Having a guy that can rush the passer from the interior alongside Micah Parsons on the edge and blitzing, that's going to be a dangerous defense and a dangerous pass rush with Wyatt in the center there. All right, we got Buffalo here at 25. And this roster is pretty darn good, not going to lie. So I'm going to swing for the fences here. And I'm going to take Zion McCollum, cornerback out of Sam Houston State. Now, this guy was on my list of sleepers on my sleeper video. And, this guy, and I mentioned that this guy just has an incredible physical profile. Maybe besides Derek Stingley, it's probably the second most impressive physical profile in this draft, in my opinion. Might be even better than Stingley's, but, elite 40 time, elite 3-cone time, elite arm length, elite size. Functional strength could be better, but, this guy has the potential to be one of the best cornerbacks in this league if he's developed right. There's not many coaching staffs I trust more to develop this guy's talent than Buffalo's. And, I think at pick 25 here, Buffalo could be running into their future number one cornerback. So here we are, Tennessee at 26. I thought about quarterback here. I thought about taking Sam Howell. But at the end of the day, I saw Zion Johnson there, and I just couldn't not pull the trigger. Tennessee likes to run a variance of run concepts. They'll do power, they'll do outside zone, they'll do inside zone. They do a lot of stuff with Derrick Henry in the backfield. And so, I look at the offensive interior linemen in this draft. There's not a whole lot of guys that can do both like that, but Zion Johnson absolutely can. I think you plug him in at guard day one and you forget about it. You have one of the best offensive lines in football with this guy at guard. So at the end of the day, I think Tennessee wants to dominate opponents with their run game and Derrick Henry. And I think Zion Johnson allows them to better do that. So it's a pretty easy pick for me. I know that Jameson Williams is still on the board, but if I'm Tennessee, I'm prioritizing the run game here. All right, we got the Bucks at number 27 here, and I have them taking Kaiir Elam, cornerback out of Florida here. 7th cornerback taken in this first round. Tampa Bay, they have a lot of people in their secondary coming up due for free agency, and with all the guys that they're going to have to pay, I don't think that they're going to be able to pay everybody. Both Jamal Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting are coming up as free agents next season. I don't think they're going to be willing to pay either of them. So I think you bring in Kaiir Elam as kind of your dime cornerback. He's going to get about 200 snaps in the season, but then next season he's going to be able to come in and be a full-time starter. Tampa Bay likes to run a lot of 2 high man. Kaiir Elam, one of the best man corners in this draft. I think it's an excellent fit. Man, Green Bay fans are going to hate me for passing up on Jameson Williams again here, but 28, I had to pull the trigger on Dylan Parham, offensive interior lineman out of Memphis. Now, the reason why I went with Parham instead of Jameson Williams is you're going to be able to get a high-end wide receiver prospect, a number 2 guy to go along with Alec Pierce in the 2nd round. You're not going to be able to get a guy like Dylan Parham, who's a perfect scheme fit for what you want to do in your run game and play both guard and center. You're just not going to be able to find it. And if you do, it's going to be a high-risk guy that might not be ready to play. And if he's not ready to play, then you have a hole in your offensive line for defenses to exploit and chase after Aaron Rodgers with. But if you get Dylan Parham here, you completely plug the holes, in my opinion. And I think that he would probably play center, but he could play either one. He's going to play somewhere on the offensive line, but, I love Dylan Parham's game. I love how smart he is. Love how he can play both guard and center. And, to me, this is the slam dunk draft for Green Bay, getting a guy like Alec Pierce that can stretch the field vertically, but also run really great routes, and get a guy like Dylan Parham that can fill a hole in your offensive line. So Green Bay fans might not be stoked about who I'm taking, but if I were Green Bay, I would be. San Francisco back-to-back here, 29 and 30. And I'm going to have them take Jameson Williams and Jalen Petrie. So we'll go over Jameson Williams first. I know that, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, how did Jameson Williams get all the way to 29? And you know what? I get it. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. But, the ACL injury does give me pause a little bit, especially with all these guys that are big and fast and great route runners with great hands. There's just so many guys in this draft that, that can do it all. And it's like, I'm not going to pick Williams above those guys when he has the injury concern and he can't do necessarily as much as those guys. Jameson Williams is going to be a guy that, what he does very, very well. And it's an incredibly valuable skill set. He stretches the defense vertically. He can run double moves like a motherfucker. Like, this guy is explosive as hell. But, ACL injuries, I believe the doctors when they say that his progress getting back has been optimistic, but I worry that he's not going to be as explosive as he was before. He's not going to be as fast as he was, and then he's not as strong, he's not as big as some of the other guys in this class. So that's why I have him falling a bit. But in San Francisco's offense with Kyle Shanahan, I know he's going to use him in the right way, and he's going to be pairing him up with the arm of Trey Lance is going to be scary, man. And that's going to be a duo that, if Jameson Williams turns out and he can return to full form, he's going to be one hell of a player, and he's going to make Trey Lance look really, really good in San Francisco. We'll just go right into number 30 here. Jalen Pitre, safety out of Baylor. I'm not going Kyle Hamilton here. I'm just not. San Francisco needs a slot guy that can play nickel cornerback, and Jalen Pitre does that better than Kyle Hamilton right now. Jalen Pitre is smart. In my opinion, he's smarter than Kyle Hamilton. Pitre is just as solid of a pro as you're going to get. He's going to come into the league, be a top 10 nickelback in the league day one. Super smart player, great instincts, can play both man and zone. He's just a weapon for San Francisco's defense, DeMeco Ryans to deploy. And like Green Bay, I thought about doubling up here with receiver with Treylon Burks, but I decided that San Francisco could probably get a pretty decent number 2 receiver, or number 3, depending on how you feel about Brandon Ayuk in the second round. So Jalen Pitre was the guy that, I wasn't going to be able to draft in the second round, so I went with him here. But overall, if I'm San Francisco, I'm getting future draft picks from teams. I'm getting rid of Deebo Samuel, but I'm adding Jameson Williams. I'm adding Jalen Pitre. I'm going to add a couple more players in this draft. So to me, this is as bad as the Deebo Samuel situation is, I think that this is as good as you're going to get if you're San Francisco. Okay, we have Cincinnati here at 31. And Tyler Linderbaum is there, so I'm going to take him. Bengals fans rejoice. But no, seriously, Cincinnati, the one thing that they still desperately need to fill that offensive line up with really good players is a center. And Tyler Linderbaum can come in, and he is a perfect fit. He's probably maybe a top 10 player on their board this year. They might consider trading up for him in the real draft because I think it's that good of a fit. But in my mock draft, he falls down here. Linderbaum is the type of guy where he needs to fit a specific type of team. He can only play center. He's kind of undersized, so he needs to go to a zone team. But the team that takes him is going to absolutely, be ecstatic to get him. And, Linderbaum with Cincinnati, I think has a chance to be potentially an all-pro year one, probably a Pro Bowl or two. And with Linderbaum, this will probably be one of the best offensive lines in football if they can stay healthy. With Joe Burrow, with the offensive weapons that they have, I mean, just watch out. Watch out, man. This offense is going to be insane next year if they can land Linderbaum like I have here. But this will be a great draft for Cincinnati if they can land Linderbaum. All right, we're rounding out the first round here. With Detroit at number 32, and I'm going to take Devin Lloyd, the first linebacker here off the board out of Utah here, right at the very end of the first round. Like Jacksonville, Detroit's just trying to fill their locker room up with pros, guys that are going to be great locker room guys, contribute to a winning culture, and Devin Lloyd's that type of guy. Is he the most physically gifted linebacker in this class? No, he's not, but he's big enough to be a 3-down inside linebacker. He's got good instincts, long arms. He's not the most athletic guy out there, but he's athletic enough. And, you bring him in, he'll be a very solid inside linebacker for you day one. If I'm Detroit and I'm walking away with my future franchise quarterback, Malik Willis, and culture guy that's going to be able to hit the field day one and help out my defense, I'm absolutely ecstatic if I'm a Lions fan right now. So Devin Lloyd, along with Malik Willis. That's one hell of a draft, if I do say so myself. All right, that's going to do it for this one. We got another mock draft coming out later this week. That'll be a pure predictive mock draft. It'll be 3 rounds. I'll be just doing the first round here on YouTube, but then I'll be posting the other 2 rounds on Instagram. So make sure to give the Rabbits Take Instagram a follow. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, like all the videos. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and I'll see you guys next time.